I think something like incels could be fine if they had good leadership, right? If someone stepped forward and said, okay, yeah, you're not going to get laid, big fucking deal. Let's actually have a positive impact on society, right?
Do you know what they need? The incels need The Rock to come be their leader for a year.
Winners use drugs.
Yeah, so I was saying, like, I always assumed that once video games became mainstream, that people would just stop watching sports. Right?
Why?
Because to me, those things, like I understand watching sports in a world without video games because you can't be playing the sport all the time, right? Like you could go and play soccer with your friends or hockey with your friends, but you're physically only capable of playing it for so long. So then you can go home and watch other people play it, and your mirror neurons are firing, and you're getting that same feeling, right?
Right.
But it's like, why watch other people play a game when you can just turn on your PlayStation and literally play it with your thumbs, right?
Yeah. Because, it's not the same experience, right?
But what's different about it? Well, it is
Watching
different.
versus playing?
No, don't get me wrong. It's different in the sense that when you're playing it, like you're playing it on a video game, it's a better experience because you're in the action, right?
Better experience than watching sports?
Yeah.
No.
So what?
Never.
What is watching sports like? What does it
Because
have?
it's the authenticity thing. It's like one is real life, one is a game.
Yeah, true.
So that matters because it's like a game has no relevance to me. You know, like when people, like if someone told me like, fuck you, bow down to me, I have, 40,000 Steam points, I'd be like, great. I don't value that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's where you place value.
Well, okay, so I recognize that I was obviously wrong on this subject because video games became mainstream, and not only did professional sports not disappear, but now we have professional esports as well, right? So not only do people not want to be playing a video game instead of playing sports, but sometimes people just want to watch other people play a video game as well, right?
Yeah.
Like that's...
Well, and one of the other effects that's also happened is because esports has gotten so big, like people that never played sports in real life get into esports.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves watching the real sport.
Right.
And then sometimes doing the real sport in real life in this new weird like cycle. Right?
Oh, yeah,
like it's
totally.
this whole backwards way of doing it.
Yeah, like one of the reasons why I'm not into sports probably is because I didn't play particularly team sports growing up, right? Like all I did was wrestling, and I could probably watch like UFC or something like that and probably enjoy it because it would remind me of wrestling when I was in junior high, and just junior high. But but at the same token, I can watch esports, right? Like particularly if it's a game that I've played, it's actually quite enjoyable.
Really? Watching esports?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like what esport do you enjoy?
Well, I mean, okay, I guess I don't really watch esports.
Like I like real sports, and I could never watch a fantasy FIFA game or anything.
Yeah. So I guess I'm wrong to say I like esports. Like I don't watch what would be classically considered esports, but I will watch streamers, like people just playing a video game. Like I'll watch someone else play a video game, right? And
really?
Yeah.
For like how long?
Depends, right? I could do it for hours actually. Like what what will happen with me is if I really get into a game, it's like I'll play it and I'll play it and I'll play it, and at some point I just can't play anymore because my brain is tired, my hands are tired, so I'll just start watching a streamer play
To
it.
like research how to be better at it.
In some ways, yeah, to see.
Okay, I understand that.
To see like get ideas and see like people who are better at the game,
Right.
but also sometimes I'm just trying to get that feeling of the game from because I just can't play it because I'm too tired to play it or something, right?
Right.
So that to me that was always what sports were about. It was about capturing the feeling of playing the sport without actually playing it, right?
Right.
I guess there's more to it than that, but that's got to be the large broad strokes basis for watching a sport, right?
I think it's also hard to gauge all the time, like, because the world's always ever growing and people are always getting more and more connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what percentages are getting into stuff? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Because it's just like, doesn't everything just grow massively? Like, isn't sports inevitably going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger because there's more and more people, and sports have been around forever, you know?
Well, I mean, people still listen to like FM radio, right? But like I don't understand why we have things like Spotify now.
Yeah.
Like, who would ever want to listen to FM radio? But people still do, and I'm sure that the amount of people listening to FM radio has grown over the years, even though a lot of people have moved on to other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you say, there's just more people.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like nothing ever dies. Like no, it's like for a long time people were saying that people were just gonna stop reading, right?
Right.
And that never happened. I'm sure nowadays more books are read per year than they've ever been, right?
Right.
So it's just the way things go.
Okay, I wanted to ask you something specific. This is that thing I was telling you about earlier about that don't you think it's a disappointment that you don't get to see how other people see you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that bother you? Has that ever crossed your mind?
It's something that I've been interested to know. Like I've always wondered how other people see me.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been something that I haven't been bothered by the inability to do so, but I have wished that I could. Yeah, for sure.
But so, like, take a meetup, right? Which we used to go to.
Yeah.
If someone observes something about you that's highly accurate, and even better if it's a stranger, right? Because it's kind of like your friends. It's kind of like, yeah, this was cool, but like if a stranger does it, it's like, holy shit. This person's seeing me, right?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause it's like they nailed this, right?
Yeah, but I can't really think of an example of that ever happening. Like, do you have a
Well,
example?
I mean, the one that immediately I knew you were going to ask me that. And I'm like, I just have a cheesy one that came to my mind, which was this person that was just like the first thing she did was like came up and like touched my hand or something. I was like, "You're an empath," and I was like, "I mean, gross, but like I get what you're saying."
Oh man, that would if that happened to me. Sorry.
What would you do?
I can't say exactly what I do, but I would not feel comfortable if someone said that to me. I'd be like, oh man.
Yeah. See, I was just like, see, the thing is, I'm always so polite, right? I'm not going to say to this person what I would say to my good friend, which is like, ugh, gross. Like, you fuck, what?
But but in all seriousness, did you feel like, oh, this person sort of understands?
But
me,
yeah,
right?
it's like, oh, okay. Because I totally understand the connection that certain people, you can just look at people's eyes and you're like, this person.
But what does that mean, empath? She's saying
Just
that
people that have been through shit, I think.
Yeah, but isn't it more like you are more connected into other people's feelings, right?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think I've always kind of equated empaths as people that have experienced trauma.
Maybe.
And they have hypersensitivity to emotion as a result.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's the trigger, right? Experiencing trauma is the trigger for you to go down that path. But empath, to me, is a very specific term, which says that you are more like empathic. Empathic is to be aware of other people's emotions on a heightened level compared to other people, right? But
that's the thing. I think saying we're empaths, blah blah blah, is like queuing up mental illness. This is a controversial take, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well,
but like, I think it's. Mine went blank.
Yeah, I was really interested to know
What
where
were
you were
we
going to
just
go with
talking about, though? Like, just remind me what we were just talking about.
We were talking about if being an empath is sort of.
Oh, right. So hypersensitivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that experience trauma, or parents that were. I think there's a certain type of parent. It's like either you were like a kid of a narcissist. Anyways, it's something to do with you just now have a hypersensitivity to emotion, right? And so it causes you to notice everything going on, right? Like with other people, because you don't want to see anyone have any negative emotion, or you want to be able to go help them immediately, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the whole thing, like this, like glamorizing it as like, oh, it's a good thing we're empaths. It's like, no, like I'm trying to desensitize myself to that shit. Like I don't want to, because it's draining, right?
Yeah.
If I go to a bar and I see someone that's on a terrible date, whatever, it's like I'm sick of feeling something for something that's like just not at all in my control, no bearing on my life, like, you know.
Yeah. I can see that.
But it's like excruciating, right? Like if you see like the guy like trying to touch this girl's like hands and she keeps pulling away, it's like, dear fucking Lord. Like I want to be the guy that like just.
True, although I would say like you don't really know what emotions are going through that person's head, right?
Exactly. And so this is why I'm saying it's not, being an empath is not a good thing, because you're not even accurately interpreting most situations that you think you're accurately interpreting. You're reinforcing your own ideas.
True. Yeah.
More often than not, because you're never proven wrong. I'm never proven wrong that like those two had an awful time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like you're feeling something that just have no business feeling, right? It's like, why feel it? But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think on some level, like I get that way. It's one of the things, like one of the reasons why like I don't like The Office, for example. I really don't like cringe humor because I feel too bad for the people in the show, right? You know, I'm just like, it's too uncomfortable for me, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's, I mean, so
I'm not sure, but we could talk about your blasphemy of not being into The Office.
Well, I mean, I recognize that it's a good show, right? Like I've seen various like quotes and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it was brilliant, but I can't do cringe humor at all. Right?
That's why a lot of people that love the US one, they watch the UK one and they're like, it was not funny. And the reason they say that is because they do not like cringe humor, and it is like Ricky Gervais's one is like drop a fucking pin and like, you know, nobody, like he's doing something insane and then it's just silent, like it kills you inside, like to watch this guy just implode in front of his office, right? Yeah,
like I don't know how people like,
I fucking love it, like that. I love that, like that's amazing to me.
But I don't understand, like particularly if you work in an office, like I don't want to work like go through the whole day of dealing with stuff, and it's pretty accurate. Like it's obviously it's a parody, right? It's not accurate in the sense that one might think, but it does capture the emotion of working in an office really well. It's like if I have to go through that for the entire day, why do I want to then go home and watch a show about it, right? Like I don't get that at all.
I had a similar thing happen when I was framing. It was like we would come home and like people would want to watch like HGH. I'm like, I don't want to watch people frame,
right?
And then go back to framing fucking 6 hours later. Like, please don't torture me with that.
Yeah, like I saw someone posted a video. I can't remember what website it was. One of the ones that I visit, where it was like a long haul truck driver, and he's like, the title of the video is like "Time for a Break," and so he drives his truck into like a little parking spot, pulls out a laptop, and starts playing Euro Truck Simulator, which is a game about long haul trucking.
I tried to buy that game.
Yeah, I think I played it for a bit.
There is something relaxing about it.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's just funny, like a
yeah,
long
that
haul
is
truck
amazing.
driver.
This is amazing. He's like, well, what did he say? Like this, I want to perfect my craft.
No, I think he was literally making a joke about how stupid that would be to be a long haul truck driver and then go and play that game.
I don't know. I used to know people like that's what I'm saying. Like my roommates that were framers, they were the bosses and shit. All they would do is want to come home and watch more framing shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get that at all either.
It's
right?
Like, oh, that's gonna murder me. Did we have this discussion before? Did I ask you what your worst job was?
No, I don't think so.
What's your worst job ever? That you can think of?
Well, I worked for a moving company right out of high school.
Oh.
That sucked a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just not built to be a mover at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I was horrible at the job.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad. And then I worked at
How long did you stay at that?
Not long, like maybe 6 months or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I also worked as what's called like an order selector in a warehouse. So I basically drove around on like a power equipment, and I would grab boxes off shelves and put it on a pallet to be put on a truck.
That's kind of cool. No?
No, that's the one that I still have nightmares about 10 years later, because what would happen is you would get a bunch of labels that you would have to of various items, and you'd have to go put the label on the item and put it on your skid, right? But at the top of the sheet was a code, and you had to go type that code in to a computer, and then it would give you a set amount of time to do it, right?
Oh, okay.
And then that timer would keep going.
That would give me nightmares.
Yeah,
too.
And then that timer would keep going until you typed in the next code for the next.
Yeah.
So it was like,
that's some Amazon shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
That's punishing work. I can't imagine that, having to deal with that psyche. And like, do they just have a board meeting and they're like, you know what, our stock price has been dipping a little bit. We need to cut 1 more second off, and like they get instructions.
I don't know the reason, but it sucked a lot, and you had to you couldn't make more than 1 error per 1,000 pieces picked. So an error would be like you put the label in the wrong box and sent the wrong thing in, right?
I'd be fired for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I worked there like for a while, like probably it was years I worked there, and I consistently had 1 error per 1,000. I never got worse than that. I never got better than that. Somehow I just skirted the line.
Yeah.
The whole way through. They really wanted to fire me too. Like I remember so many times they tried.
Why?
Just because like they didn't even like the amount of errors I was making, even though I was keeping within their accepted rate. They still didn't like it.
They're still like, oh, we could get someone better maybe.
Yeah, they're like, if you don't, they actually threatened to fire me a few times, and it was just like, very stressful. They're like, oh, if you don't do this and this and this in the next month, we're gonna let you go. So you're like the whole month you're just thinking, can I keep this job? Should I just be looking for a new job? Right?
I was gonna say, like, my first instinct. This is why, like, probably I would never have made it in the corporate world. It's like, if it's like on the horizon that I'm gonna be fired or whatever, it's like I would just quit.
Yeah.
Just be like, this is too stressful. I quit. I need to go find something new.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it did. The first time that happened, like,
Was there kind of monetary incentive to not?
No, I just really didn't know what the hell else to do. I was just at a point in my life. Like, I ended up going back to, after that job is when I went back to university, right? Because it was like high school, a bunch of shitty jobs. That was the last shitty job. And I'm just like, I was just like, I can't fucking find a good job. I got to go back to school. That was what, I only worked there a few years because I went part-time when I was in school. That's the actual full-time work. I only did that for like a year. So, but yeah.
Anyways, that sounds fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Another thought I had today that I wanted to ask you about was Gen Z. Are they the luckiest generation of guys or the unluckiest generation of guys with the existence of OnlyFans?
You know what? I don't like. So OnlyFans to me, from what I understand, is basically like a streaming site, but women take their clothes off. Is that right, or is there more to it?
No,
than that?
it's not really a streaming site. It's not like a Pornhub. It's not like anything like that. It's like you go to an individual creator's content, and unlock videos and photos.
Yeah, see, I was thinking more like it was like Twitch, but
I'm not familiar with Twitch, so I wouldn't know.
Twitch, like people will basically film themselves playing a video game or really anything. But
I know this is what I need. I need to start just doing this. I've been waiting for this fucking pandemic to be over to just start streaming.
Yeah. Well, Twitch was. I mean, I think Twitch you can basically do anything, stream anything on there. But originally, it was people would stream video games. Mm-hmm. So I sort of thought of OnlyFans as like that, but it's for cam girls basically.
Yeah. But they can't like that. They're not. It's not an actual cam site that I know of.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Maybe it is now.
Right. And I know you're talking about like these aggregator sites where you can get clips of porn, actually produced porn videos. That's not what this is. This is more like early YouTube. The person you're watching, it's their account, it's their camera. They set it up.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So like back to the question being like, so now you're like, oh man, this girl in my class is so hot. Does she have an OnlyFans? Right. So this is what I'm saying. But like these women are also way more unlikely to want to date and settle down. So this is why I'm saying it's like, are they the luckiest generation because they can see, like they can have the access that like most guys want. Yeah. For a certain price. Is that great or is that punishing? Is that?
Well, I think we have to sort of look at the perspective. Like, some statistic that I heard was that young people are having less sex now than even our generation, right? Yeah. And it's like that in our minds would be like, well, that really sucks, right? These people aren't having as much sex, but you have to sort of ask the question, like, why are they not having as much sex as us? Like, is there something preventing them, or is there something like making it harder for them to have sex in a negative way, or is there just something that's better than sex, right? Right. Like maybe these things like OnlyFans, maybe it's just so much better for them than going through all the pointless bullshit of trying to get laid, right?
I wonder, one of the things I wondered about was if the average age for when a person has their first like serious relationship or even relationship at all just continually increases.
Why would that be the case?
Shit, I don't know what my thought was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in the past, there's this idea that people would get married at 14 or stuff like that.
I
Right?
think more young people have just gotten the message that it's better to stay single.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like that's why like hookup culture like took off.
Right.
Right. And like people don't. It's like this guy, like everyone really. It's a really anxious generation for sure. Like they honestly, I think they worry about people being in like too into them and shit like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it's like it's such we're on this like frontier with all of this stuff, right? Like we don't really know what the effects of all of this stuff are, right? High speed internet giving people access to like there's this whole thing about pornography in general, right? Where it's like what happens when someone has access to all of this porn at an age when their brain is still developing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that do to the person? Does it fundamentally alter how sexuality works for them, right? And possibly it does.
I
right?
think the last thing I remember them saying was that it does the same thing that certain like like playing bingo with kids, right?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of effect. It kind of triggers your dopamine from a
Right.
gambling sense. Like that's where you get your hit from, right? And so in the same way, this one trains you to be.
Yeah, like what they describe it as called supernormal stimulus.
Never heard of.
Yeah, that's the term they use for the society. A lot of the things that occur in our society, like fast food, like junk food, for example, it's the way what it is you're putting into your body a type of stimulus that is much more intense than what your brain was designed for, right? Like your brain is designed to like the taste of salt because how we evolved, the environment that we evolved in, salt was very rare, right? So salt is something that we tastes really good to us, right? Same with sugar, right? Sugar is such an important nutrient for us and so hard to get in a African savanna that we crave it much stronger than we do, say, like fiber or something, right?
Right.
And so what happens in our society is like all of this stuff is so available to us that it like we're not designed for it. Our brains can't handle this supernormal stimulus, right?
Mm-hmm.
They talk about giving like chimpanzees the equivalent of like a screen that shows like whatever the equivalent of chimp pornography is, right? Like they're showing female chimps in certain ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the chimps will actually prefer that over an actual female chimp that's in their cage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what does that mean for human race, right?
Well, I think guys try to
Yeah.
go without women forever, but I don't think it ends up very well,
Right.
which is what incels are.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right? Like it's just like their anger and resentment is finally built to a point that it's like, I need to create a community around this. Like,
yeah, I mean, incels I think are a bit different. Like there's when you talk about the spectrum of unlaid frustrated dudes, right? There's definitely the people that are just addicted to pornography and that's what they're doing with their time. And then there's people, the incel community is kind of like people who believe that they're too ugly or too or they're not confident enough or assertive enough to be attracted to the opposite sex, right?
That's not what all. No. My perception of incels is like women have too high a standard. It's like there's nothing wrong with me. It's women's issues.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's really the difference, right? I mean, they believe that they're not attractive enough.
Well, the difference is
get,
one would be you have some sense of self and you're coming at it from a like logical place, which is to say like maybe women don't like me because of my bad attitude.
Yeah.
You know, and it has nothing to do with my height or my voice or my hobby. I like to LARP, you know,
right.
like
I don't think there's anyone in the incel community, maybe a few, but I don't think they're the majority who believe that they're like in the top tier of attractiveness in terms of guys, and they just can't get women because women are just too picky, right?
No, but that's the thing. That's the reality. That's how
Right.
we see it. We're like, yeah, you guys are unfortunately not very conventionally attractive, right?
Yeah.
But you're also like, you're not designing rockets or like
Right.
you're not doing anything impressive either.
Right.
And you're expecting good result. Like, do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people now, we feel like we deserve stuff. Like
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
they like we're, and so I think incels are just an extreme of that. Like they just like, no, everybody's supposed to like pair, like everyone's supposed to have someone. Like I'm someone's supposed to be into me.
Yeah, but they're also well, I think that's how it is. I think it's they see themselves as average. They're average in the looks department. They have an average job, or maybe they're still in school, whatever, and they just want what they consider to be the average girl, right?
Yeah.
They don't want
But they don't do anything to change their
yeah.
anything.
But so I mean I don't know the sort of philosophical underpinnings of that community that well.
Shocker.
But
You've been successfully with a woman for a while, so yeah, I would say.
Yeah, but I mean I've had long stretches of being single. I think I could have fallen into that community. I think if I had been born in a later time, I probably like 18, 19 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have found
Really?
that. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought about that too, because I'm like, would I have really like ever become an incel? It's just like, I don't think so.
Yeah, you seem like the opposite. So,
Yeah, no, it's because it's too. I mean, for a long time, I was like very like it was very confusing, but yeah.
no, I don't know. Some of their arguments are valid though. Like I saw this one, like OkCupid, they used to put out a lot of statistics, right? And they showed one about like how men and women rate the opposite sex, right? So they showed that men, what they do, if you look at the number value that they're rating, it's pretty consistent with like a bell curve. Like 50% of the people of women on OkCupid are rated by guys as like a 5, right? And then as you go away from 50%, you see a decrease in a standard distribution type way. So like the 9s are a very small, like 10% of the population, right? But when you look at how women rate men, it's like it's skewed very much, so that like most guys are rated very poorly, and then just a very small percentage of guys are rated favorably at all, right? Yeah. So it does seem to suggest that women are much more they rate men's looks more harshly than men rate women's looks, right? So
yeah. The interesting thing to me is that like people complain about it as if it's going to change. So like, would there ever be a societal wave that changes? Like to me, it's like always been a thing. Like these guys getting mad. It's like, right, you can get mad, or you can do your best to like be the best you, right? Because we know ultimately like confidence is huge, right? Like I used to have a friend that wasn't conventionally attractive, had a limp, like fucking smoked, looked homeless, honestly. That dude had no issues pulling women ever, right?
yeah.
Because his confidence just
Right. And that's the other side of that OkCupid article that the incels won't highlight, is that yes, women judge men's looks more harshly, but they're still responding to messages by guys that they rated like a 3 or a 2, right? Like looks don't matter as much, even though they're much harsher in their judgments. It's less of a factor in who they decide to date, right? And so that's
but that was one of the most infuriating things I learned in a relationship. I was like, that like height is why women are into me. I'm like, it's
true.
So disappointing. It's so disappointing. Yeah. I was like, you hope it's because you're really good looking. It's like, no, it's just because you're fucking 6'3". Like that's the reality of it. And I was like, And so for a while, I really did resent it. And now I'm just like, all right, fine.
Yeah, it's the rule of sixes, right?
What's that?
6 feet, 6 figures, 6-pack, right?
Well, we're working on the 6 figures. It hasn't really highlighted itself.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I'm sure the incel community talks about height like nonstop, because height really is a super annoying thing for a guy to have to deal with, particularly if you're not above average in height. It's like it's not something I can change, right? What do you want me to do? Wear elevator shoes? Like, what can I do, right?
But like my argument's always the same. I'm like, so if anything bothers me enough, right, I go to try to change it.
Yeah.
So like these incel dude, it's like, money equals hoes.
True. Yeah.
Go focus on money. Go get crazy rich. If you really care this much about it, rather than bitching on Reddit, go make a crazy amount of money and you'll find a way to be around women, I'm sure.
True, but I mean, it's not. It's making a lot of money isn't within everybody's reach, right? Like, it's not as though we don't live in 100% meritocracy where everybody's financial position is 100% the result of the amount of effort they put in to their life, right?
I agree. But maybe. I mean, that's a valid point. I don't really have an argument against that.
The thing that I've always thought about, it's like, one of the things that we're kind of as a society experimenting with that we've never had to deal with before is having the same amount of men or slightly more men than women, right? In most of human history, we've had disease, we've had wars, just homicides, right? Like homicides pre-industrial civilization, a lot of people just got killed, right? A lot of dudes just got killed. And by the time if a guy was still alive in his 30s, there was a lot more women to men. The ratio was a lot skewed in his favor, right? And that's no longer the case. Right. And I think a lot of the issues we see this incel community happening is because we don't have that at play anymore, right?
Well, whenever people from North America are complaining, I'm like, okay, you might want to read up about China, and what their one-child policy
Oh
has
yeah,
done.
right.
They now
right.
have 21 million more men that are just like they're called the undateables
Right.
in whatever, Cantonese.
I know that sounds like a nightmare to me. Right? Like why? Like how could they? Like I guess they were aborting female babies, right? Like they would find the sex out early enough
Yeah.
and have an abortion. It's just like that is the most short-sighted thing a society can do, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of abandoned babies.
Yeah, like I think one of the things that religion used to serve was a place for undateable men to sort of have a community to go to, right? Like a monk or a monastery.
Mm.
And I think like as religion becomes less a part of our society, that's another reason why we're seeing these like toxic communities, like
Weird toxic
incel.
communities pop up.
Yeah.
Kind of like splinter cell shit.
Yeah, it's like they don't have. I think something like incels could be fine if they had good leadership, right? If someone stepped forward and said, "Okay, yeah, you're not going to get laid. Big fucking deal. Let's actually have a positive impact on society," right?
Do you know what they need? The incels need The Rock to come be their leader for a year.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, like, half of them won't hate women by the end of the year. It'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that all these emotional problems wouldn't have been solved by a woman. It was about me not working out, doing anything during the day,
Right.
staying up till 4 a.m. Yeah. That's the thing. No one looks inward. But I definitely think The Rock for the incel community. Let's go suggest this.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Rock. I was thinking like Jordan Peterson. As much as I don't like his politics, his message, like he is speaking predominantly to like young men.
Yeah.
Like what he's saying, like clean your room and all that shit.
Yeah.
That's very much a
It's a healthier way of going about it. It's like focus on your anger. Like your anger is it's just an emotion.
yeah.
Get busy. If you get busy, you don't have time to dwell,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just very basic, like shit that men should know. And like what we were talking about earlier, like men need to lift weights. It's like you need to do it. Otherwise you just get like, I think that's just a thing that like, I don't care who you are. I think it's just a thing you have to do, like to get good, whatever.
Yeah, like I look
Anger
at it
stuff
kind of
out.
like chores, right? It's like I have to clean the kitchen. I have to do these things, right?
Yeah.
Exercising is in that realm, right?
Maintenance. Yeah.
Like it's not a choice. It's not a lifestyle. It's something that you just have to take care of your body. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't answer my question about OnlyFans and Gen Z.
Well, I think my answer is that this is a new thing in society. We don't know what the impact is going to be for these people as they get older, right?
What's the youngest person you know
Uh,
that would be like of relevant cultural?
11.
I was thinking more like 21, 22.
I have a nephew that's 11.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I know anyone right now who's like early 20s that I don't think so.
What age does Gen Z go up to? Do you know?
Not sure.
Yeah.
No. Like whatever. Like I'm not even sure if I'm a millennial. I think I am, but
You're a millennial.
yeah, I think I'm almost like the first year.
See, I'm so detached from what like 18 to 27-year-old males are like.
Mm.
That's the group I don't run into very often. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't.
Yeah.
Where do I see them ever? So I have no idea what they're like at all as far as dateability,
Right.
anything like that. Like are they just the worst people ever right now? Like or
Well, I don't know either, but I've read some of the statistics, right? And the statistics are they're having less sex. That's the big one that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know about like statistics on what kind of drug use or other kind of reckless behaviors, but I know that they're not having as much sex.
Right.
I don't know the reasons. Like maybe it's just that you spend more time getting to know someone online, right, before you meet them or something, and that's why they're having less sex. I don't know the reason, but it could be that they're just jerking off to OnlyFans. Right? Like I don't know.
I have no idea. Well, and also maybe just gaming is so alluring now. This is another factor that could be that it's just like, because I remember like being quite addicted to games to the point where it'd be like, yeah, I want to jerk off, but I'd also like to progress to the next level. And I would choose to progress to the next level. Right. So maybe there's just, like games are just so overwhelming and overstimulating now that it's like,
yeah, or it's all of the above, right? Like maybe some people are more into games or get addicted even to video games, and some people it's porn, or just other people maybe even gambling, right? Like I never really even think about gambling because it just seems so incredibly stupid for anyone to gamble. But it's a powerful behavioral addiction, right? Like it's spurting the dopamine into your reward center pretty strongly. So
there's a reason I constantly try to challenge my friends and stuff to bets and whatever. It's because my brain is searching for a way to continue doing it without losing copious amounts of money, right?
Right.
And like I'm actively trying to not have any bets go. Like when I have that thought, I'm like, I retract I'm like, I can't do it. I can't make bets because I'm trying to get that out of my but I think it'll be like smoking. It'll always kind of be there,
Yeah, well, to me, behavioral addictions are probably some of the worst, right?
Right.
Because it's like it's always there, right? Like I always thought about people who like binge eat or stuff like that, and like have an addiction to eating, and it's like how hard would that be to overcome, right? Because you still have to eat, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to give up coffee. I can literally cut caffeine completely out of my life, right? It's not like I need caffeine to survive. Like how could I, if caffeine was a required nutrient and I just had a problem with taking it too much, but I still had to take a little bit, how could I give that up? It would be impossible, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people who eat too much, or people who are addicted to, who have like sex addiction, things like that. That's the reality that they're facing, right? It's like they have to figure out a healthy way of.
Sex addiction, what a luxury. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I don't know many guys that wouldn't want to be sex addicts. It's just that, as we talked about last week, what you said it best. You said women choose sex, men want sex. Something.
Did
like
I
that.
say that? I don't remember.
Maybe we didn't
that.
have this conversation. Maybe we can cut all this.
That's no, but I mean, you're right. I don't think sex addiction is probably pretty disgusting for the people that have it, right? I don't think it's this glamorous. You're just compulsively going to the bar every night and picking up a hot girl and taking her home and fucking her. I think maybe a few guys maybe can pull that off, but I think for most guys, if you're addicted, you're addicted to the point that you need the path of least resistance, right? That means you're not playing the mating game, you're getting a prostitute, or you're just watching porn and jerking off, right? Like I think for women, sex addiction could be like that, right? Because they don't really have to put in the same kind of effort and resources to get laid as guys do.
Oh my word. Like women that have talked about being sex addicts or whatever, it's just being a distraction, whatever, it destroys their lives. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. Because it is just they have access whenever they want, right? So,
right.
I mean, most women, anyways.
Yeah, most women. Yeah, you have to be pretty low down on the ladder to not have like easy access to sex when you're a woman, right?
Yeah.